I deserve more.
She slid the envelope across the table like she was handing me a receipt, not ending a 20-year marriage. "Sign it," she said, her voice eerily calm. "I've already spoken to a lawyer." I didn't reach for it. My eyes stayed on her. There was no anger, no sadness, just a look of relief, almost pride, as if she'd finally made a move she'd been planning for a lifetime. This was it. The end of 2 decades, served up with paperwork instead of shouting or tears. "You don't even want to read it?" she asked, tapping a perfectly manicured nail on the folder. "I already know what it says," I replied, my voice even. She blinked, surprised. She was clearly expecting a fight, some resistance, anything but this quiet acceptance. "I'm not doing this to hurt you." She continued, reciting a line she'd obviously rehearsed. I deserve more. I've grown. You stayed the same." I just nodded slowly. I'd heard that one before, usually from people who already had one foot out the door and the other in someone else's. "There's someone else, isn't there?" I asked, cutting straight to the point. She didn't deny it. Her response was simple and devastating. "He makes me feel alive," and that was all I needed to hear. I picked up the pen she'd placed so conveniently next to the papers and signed every single page without asking a single question. Her well-practiced confidence finally cracked, just for a second. "That's it," she whispered, disbelief in her eyes. "You're not going to fight for us?" I looked at her one last time. "No," I said. "I'm not." She stared at me, her mind racing, trying to solve a puzzle that just didn't add up. I stood up, put on my jacket, and walked out of the house. I didn't pack a bag that night. I didn't need to. I already knew I wasn't coming back. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly imagine, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for months. I wasn't blind. I'd seen the signs. The late nights she claimed were work dinners. The sudden interest in expensive clothes that weren't for my eyes. The way she guarded her phone like it was a national secret. I never accused her. I never snooped. I didn't want the drama. I just adjusted. I quietly and legally separated our finances. I moved key investments into my name. I consulted with professionals, all without a single heated argument. I simply stopped building a future that had her in it. While she was busy falling in love with the idea of a new, exciting life, I was methodically securing my own. The divorce was exactly what she wanted, quick, clean, and tilted heavily in her favor. She assumed I was broken, a distracted and defeated man who couldn't see what was happening. I let her believe that. Sometimes, silence is the most convincing argument you can make. It allows people to fill in the blanks with their own assumptions, and her assumption was that I was falling apart. 3 months later, we had our final court appearance. It was a cold, formal affair. She arrived early, looking sharp and victorious, her new man right by her side. He had that specific kind of borrowed confidence, the kind you get from standing next to someone who thinks they've already won. He made a point of avoiding my eyes. She didn't. She looked right at me, a faint, triumphant smile playing on her lips. When the judge finalized everything and the hearing ended, she walked out of that courthouse practically beaming, ready to celebrate her new beginning. Then she stopped. A low, powerful engine growl sliced through the quiet of the courthouse parking lot. I pulled in slowly, parking a few spaces away. The sleek, black Corvette Z06 gleamed under the afternoon sun, a stunning machine that was impossible to ignore. Every head in the parking lot turned. Conversations paused. I stepped out of the driver's seat, hit the lock button on the remote, and turned to face her. She stared, her brain visibly struggling to process the scene. Her smile had completely vanished. Is that yours?" She finally managed to ask, her voice a small, confused whisper. "Yes," I said, keeping my tone level. "How?" she asked, the single word loaded with 100 questions she was too proud to ask. "I sold the house," I replied calmly. "The one whose sale papers you thought were just another piece of paperwork. And I sold the company shares you never bothered to ask about." Her new boyfriend shifted uncomfortably beside her. For the very first time, he looked unsure, like the prize he thought he'd won had just revealed a hidden cost. "You told me you were struggling," she said quietly, her eyes pleading for an explanation that would make sense of her narrative. I was struggling in the marriage, I clarified. Not in life. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but then closed it. There was nothing left to say. The entire story she had constructed in her mind, the one where she was upgrading her life and leaving me behind in the ruins, it all collapsed right there in front of her. I gave her a single final nod. I got back into my car, the engine rumbling to life, and I drove away without looking back. That was the very last time I ever saw her. The months that followed weren't the chaotic mess she probably expected from me. My life didn't implode. In fact, it simplified. I woke up to quiet mornings, not simmering tension. My goals became clearer. I started traveling, seeing places I'd always wanted to see. I started sleeping better, eating better. I found myself laughing more than I had in years. I heard through the grapevine from mutual friends that things with her new man didn't work out. It turns out that a man's confidence doesn't pay the bills. The exciting, lavish lifestyle she imagined he could provide never materialized. Responsibility showed up and his charm faded quickly. She tried calling me once, a few months later. Her name flashed on my screen and I just let it ring. I didn't answer. Not because I was still angry or trying to be spiteful, it was because I was done, completely and totally done. Some people think revenge has to be loud. They think it needs shouting, matches, public humiliation, and dramatic showdowns. But it doesn't. True revenge, the most powerful kind, is silent. It's staying calm when they expect you to explode. It's walking away with your dignity intact. And it's letting them watch from the sidelines as you build a better, happier life without them. I didn't win because I bought a fancy car. I won the moment I decided not to beg someone to stay who was already gone. I won because I chose myself. And that right there was the moment my life truly began. Thanks for watching.